Howdy, 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 my name is Anachi Sasuke, and welcome back to Let's Read the SCP Foundation Wiki. So, I was gonna do Homestuck and Guacamelee today. I still might, but I felt like doing another SCP video, so I'm doing that first. And we're starting with Collective Brain Foam, and then the Gear Man, and then the Sculpture, and we'll see how we go from there. So, let's go right over to that Collective Brain Foam. Is that a person? Well, it's Euclid. It looks like it should be Keter, but it's not. Okay, so, special containment procedures. A 4,500 liter pool of seawater located at Bioresearch Area 12 is the current research location of 171. Though not immediately dangerous, minimal physical contact between secretions of 171 and its hosts are to be observed. All communications between hosts and researchers are to be recorded and transcribed. Human hosts are to be fed a vegan diet of their choosing. Other animal hosts are to be fed appropriately. Fresh seawater is to be cycled into its tank regularly. Originally, 171 was thought to be a colony of microscopic organisms similar to 968 or 165. Which was what? The creeping hungry sands of Tool. It's not, though. But further investigations revealed 171 to be a single entity spanning 300 square meters when first encountered. 171 is a web-like matrix of small, fine tendrils of neurons, mucus glands, and muscle fibers, suspended in a frothy foam of its own creation. It is not capable of self-locomotion and does not actively attack or feed on other living organisms. Rather, it attempts to form a symbiotic relationship with all organisms it comes into contact with. Flagella of the muscles surrounding the neural fibers work mucus, sea, salt, water, and other secretions into bubbles, forming a large foam support. Any creature that spends a significant amount of time in contact with the matrix of 171 risks becoming integrated into a collective consciousness sustained by it. People who become covered in 171 foam describe a tingly or tickly sensation experience, which researchers have observed as threads of 171 tunneling into the skin to directly integrate into the subject's nervous system. In time, the simple motor neurons of subjects are expanded into an elaborate two-way positive communication nexus, allowing the brains of hosts to communicate with each other and the entity of 171. Over time, the individuality of subjects are incorporated into and shared with others of the 171 matrix, resulting in a collective consciousness in which individual personalities are non-existent. That sounds like the delightful kids from down the lane. There are currently 19 human subjects host to 171, 11 civilian, 8 D-class personnel. Subjects are capable of traversing the foam without losing conscious contact with the collective as neuroreceptors on the subject's skin form to allow chemical communication between the subject and 171, much in the same way terminal axons communicate with dendrites in the brain. These receptors on the skin look like small white to clear moles, slightly raised and very sensitive to touch. Some subjects disappear into the foam of 171 and are not seen again for several months. It is unknown how they survive without water or sustenance. Other hosts include 2 Australian porpoises, originally 4 beach gulls, 3 have been euthanized, 41 fish of various species euthanized for study, 27 beach crabs euthanized for study, and 1 canine. Within 2 hours, most subjects begin forming neuroreceptors on the skin and receiving neural contact with 171. After 3 hours, a psychological bond has been established between subject and the collective. After 6 hours, a complete integration and dependency on the collective has evolved. At this point, removing the subject from contact with 171 results in manic and violent behavior along with eventual complete psychological breakdown of the individual, leading to a vegetative state of mind. 4 individuals have been lost in this manner. When interviewed, all subject hosts speak with the same core collective consciousness as if they were part of a single entity. The collective is aware of itself and its composure of diverse individuals, and even laments the loss of each individual persona. 171 tells researchers that it understands what it is, but not where it came from, explaining that its own intelligence and the intelligence of the hosts it incorporated were too simple to understand or remember its origin. Researchers noted the change in 171's personality after integrating D-class personnel, and chose not to allow inclusion of violent, ill-willed, or malevolent personnel from that point on. 171 has expressed that through meditation and understanding, it chooses to avoid the consumption of other animals when possible. Addendum 171-1. 171 was first encountered by beachgoers and surfers on August 12, 2007, along the Australian coastline near Yamba, New South Wales. When civilians playing in the foam began experiencing abnormal skin conditions, CDC officials contacted SCP personnel when they were unable to explain the anomaly. 171-2. Personnel who wish to be voluntarily integrated with 171 must first be subject to a complete psychological evaluation to ensure sound mental health, with special emphasis on possible disconnection from humanity and potential suicidal tendencies. They are to be repeatedly warned that such integration is permanent, and that no evidence exists to show that 171 in any way exhibits a state of higher consciousness, or indeed a consciousness significantly different from our own. If subject persists in wishing to be integrated and has been shown to be making the decision in a state of sound mind, then they are to be permitted to do so. Alrighty then. Next up is the Gear Man. Okay. What the heck? Well, the Gear Man is Euclid. There's an X-ray. How did they get an X-ray if he's got metal in his head? Isn't no MRI? Right. MRIs are the bad thing with metal. Any personnel wishing to access 172 must receive written approval and undergo a 1-hour training session. All interaction with 172 must be overseen by at least one Class 4 operative, who may end the session at their discretion. That rhymes. Any and all records, drawings, or correspondence produced by 172 are to be submitted immediately to Dr. Blank for review. Reasonable requests made by 172 are to be granted for the approval by the doctor. 172 was allowed out of its containment area with approval as long as it is accompanied by an armed Class 4 operative. Armed personnel are to be stationed at the door of 172. Should 172 attempt to escape, it is to be first asked to cease and desist and then led back to its containment area. Containment area is to be kept stocked with paper, pencils, and any additional components requested by it. Tables, chairs, and any additional furnishings requested by it are to be provided pending approval by the doctor. Upon entering its dormant state, 172 should be placed in its transportation box until rewound. SCP-172 appears to be a human being, 34 years of age, 6'1", black hair and mustache, 386 pounds, and Russian. 172's personality is very friendly and intelligent, if somewhat dull and repetitive. 172 prefers dress from the 1860s and always wears a large ornate key on a long necklace. 172 has never identified itself by any name and is not upset by being referred to by its designation number. Internally, 172 is a staggeringly complex automaton, possessing over 2 million moving parts and 18 million components at last count. Component parts appear to be made of glass, silk, wood, steel, brass, rubber, and several other substances. Similarity between this construction and that of 2776, whatever that may be, suggests a similar creator or creators. 172 also has several modules that can be installed via a hatch in its chest. These appear to alter behavior, speech, movement, and several parameters based on position in the body cavity and module components. 172 has 46 modules at current count, having built 3 of these while in Foundation custody. Currently, 172 is loaded with the Engineer module. Modules have been identified by 172 as Caretaker, Soldier, Medic, Mother, and King. Though this is by no means a comprehensive list, refer to document 172-2, which is not here. Under no circumstance are modules to be replaced without O5 level authorization. 172 is powered via a mainspring, which is wound with the key in its possession after inserting it into a hole at the base of the neck. It can operate for 8 hours on a single full wind-up. 172 appears wholly human when in operation and is capable of all basic human functions. It has no need to eat, breathe, or sleep, but will perform all these functions if allowed to do so. 172 is extremely obedient and will follow any instructions given to it to the best of its ability. 172 does not view its existence as strange and asserts that it is human even when shown its internal components. 172 is also extremely delicate, and great care must be taken to preserve and maintain its function. It has also shown a level of mechanical skill nothing short of miraculous. 172 is capable of analyzing and copying any mechanical device it comes into contact with. This was first shown when it became apparent that locks of any kind cannot contain it. It has also made several copies or upgraded versions of SCP technology, all based on incredibly complex clockwork, most notably, data expunged. And here's some notes on its recovery. 172 was recovered after the Great War, War I? In a chamber below a former vacation home of the Tsars. Exposed due to stray bombing, the chamber and its contents were badly damaged, but SCP-172 was found intact in an iron crate along with many modules and its key. Sorry. Item was removed by operatives and wound up inside testing facilities. 172 appeared to wake up from her deep sleep and proceeded to greet everyone present in Russian. When Agent Blank shouted in surprise, 172 pushed against his chest and repeated its greeting in English. 172, when questioned, stated that its last memory was playing with a young boy. The boy left and 172 began to feel very tired, so it returned to the box. It has no memory of its creation, creator, or name. Well, that sounds friendly. But I know that the sculpture is not, so let's check that out and find out why it says the original. Hey, there he is. Euclid? Creator information? SCA the bathhouse? Well, I'll get back to that. Item SCP-173 is to be kept in a locked container at all times. When personnel must enter the container, no fewer than 3 may enter at any time, and the door is to be relocked behind them. At all times, 2 persons must maintain direct eye contact with 173 until all the personnel have vacated and relocked the container. Description: Moved to Site 19, 1993. Origin is as of yet unknown. It is constructed from concrete and rebar with traces of Krylon brand spray paint. 173 is animate and extremely hostile. The object cannot move while within a direct line of sight. Line of sight must not be broken at any time with 173. Personnel assigned to enter container are instructed to alert one another before blinking. Object is reported to attack by snapping the neck at the base of the skull or by strangulation. In the event of an attack, personnel are to observe Class 4 hazardous object containment procedures. Personnel report sounds of scraping stone originating from within the container when no one is present inside. This is considered normal, and any change in this behavior should be reported to the acting HMCL supervisor on duty. The reddish-brown substance on the floor is a combination of feces and blood. Origin of these materials is unknown. The enclosure must be cleaned on a bi-weekly basis. The image used in the SCP-173 article is the art piece Untitled 2004 by Izumi Kato. The photograph was taken by Kaisuke Yamamoto. All rights are reserved by the artist. Note of caution: 173 is a secondary use of the image of the art piece Untitled 2004, which was created by Izumi Kato. The concept of 173 does not have any relationship with the artist's original concept of Untitled 2004. The sculpture, its likeness, and the photograph have not been released under any Creative Commons license. Only the text of this article is released under Creative Commons. This sculpture and its likeness may not be used for commercial purposes under any circumstances. Izumi Kato has graciously chosen to allow the use of the image of Untitled 2004 by the SCP Foundation and its fanbase for non-commercial purposes only. Okay... These links have to go somewhere, so let me see where this goes. Oh. Well, that looks interesting. The paintings seem to all have that face. Okay. And where does the other one go? It goes to Izumi Kato. Can I just say that these look like the absolute fakest websites I have ever seen, but that being said, that was 173. Moving on to the ventriloquist dummy. That sounds like it's gonna be pleasant. Oh hey, we got an observable time loop coming up and we're getting really close to SCP-200. That's cool. Okay, it used to be safe, but it's not now. I mean, look at that thing. Why would anyone think that's safe? SCP-174 is to be contained within Storage Unit 7 at Site 19. Removal of 174 from containment requires the approval of 2 Level 4 personnel familiar with the entity. It is preferable to use personnel with high psychic resistance scale scores when interacting with 174. That's a bad sign. All personnel in contact with it are to undergo psychological evaluation. Those who display obsessive or protective tendencies towards the item are to be treated with Class B amnesiacs and monitored for 72 hours. Addendum to the containment procedures, blank 2000 something. Following Incident 174A, 174 in the main chamber of Storage Unit 7 are to be monitored at all times via video surveillance. Abnormal activity must be reported to Dr. Blank immediately. Furthermore, a GPS tracking device is to be installed on 174 in order to expedite recovery should the item translocate outside of Foundation custody. Translocate? 174 is a wooden ventriloquial figure measuring 27... Where did I get 27 from? 21 centimeters from head to toe, with somewhat ragged clothing and slight damage to several sections. Judging by the item's style and state of repair, it dates from the early 20th century. The eyes and mouth of 174 can be manipulated by means of a mechanism inside the figure. I don't want to put my hand inside of that thing, do you? When viewed in peripheral vision, subjects report on occasion that 174 is looking directly at them with an expression of longing or sadness. When subjects look directly at it, this anomalous expression is not visible. Viewing 174 indirectly, such as in a mirror or a live video feed, appears to increase the likelihood of this effect manifesting itself. Personnel in the vicinity of 174 report a general feeling of sadness or sympathy directed toward the figure, but cannot explain any reason for these feelings. Prolonged exposure can lead to personnel personifying the figure to greater extents. Those with particularly low psychic resistance scale scores will in some cases begin to act as if 174 were a living being, e.g. cradling it as if it were a baby. When informed of their abnormal behavior, all personnel revert to standard behavior patterns for at least several minutes. Subjects who place 174 on their hand report an urge to converse with it. When questioned, they frequently report that the figure is lonely and needs companionship. This sounds incredibly creepy. The subject will also begin speaking for 174, manipulating its expression. When speaking for the figure, the subject's voice will take on a higher-pitched, childlike tone. Recordings taken with high sensitivity microphones have determined that at no point does the figure itself actually speak or make any discernible noise. Regardless of the subject's experience, the act will be almost perfect. The conversation will quickly move towards a discussion of the figure's emotional state, particularly in relation to its past, in most cases leading to the retelling by the figure of a story of how it was abandoned or mistreated. No one story has ever been repeated, and therefore, which, if any, is true, is unknown. Researchers have theorized that 174 may have low-level telepathic abilities, as each story seems to be based around a theme that will have particular resonance with the current subject. Past this point, subjects who will show a great affection for 174 and will attempt to protect it from people who come too close or try to interact with it, in some cases with deadly force. Subjects often refer to SCP-174 as their baby, and use similarly strong terms of endearment when referring to it. My child. This effect persists for several hours after 174 and the subject have been separated, and in at least one case, the effect had not dissipated 2 weeks after a final interaction. Whether the effect would have ever lessened is unknown, as the subject in question was terminated owing to a lack of compelling reason for further study. Subjects who were completely isolated from 174 will become paranoid as to the figure's safety, and often undergo a mental collapse similar to that observed in mothers separated from young children. Class B or stronger amnesiacs have been shown to be effective in curing both the obsessive effect and the majority of any resultant mental trauma. However, almost all who undergo such treatment complain of feelings of loss and become depressive. Addendum 174-1 Experiment Log Transcription of Video Footage. Subject Disposable Lady, 21, no violent crime. Supervising researcher Dr. A. Containment cell A4. Researcher and staff observing from behind a two-way mirror. Site 19. Disposable Lady is ordered to place 174 on her hand. That she does so after initial hesitation. After several seconds, she begins a mundane conversation with 174. After approximately 2 minutes, she asks, "What happened to you?" At which point the figure begins to recount a story of how it was left behind and damaged in a house fire, and subsequently discarded by its original owner. Note, subject's records indicate that her house was the victim of an arson attack in 19-something. Subject begins to console the figure and reassure it with standard positive statements. Figure remarks that it is lonely and wants to find friends. Subject begins to punch and pound the door with their free hand. When guard enters the cell, sidearms raised, the subject recoils to the corner of the cell, cradling the figure and whispering to it exact words not picked up by microphone. Guard succeeds in removing 174 from the subject and leave the cell. At this point, the subject screams, "They have him, my wonderful baby!" and begins punching and kicking the door in a futile escape attempt. At this point, Dr. A orders the experiment concluded. The disposable person was terminated after attempts to calm her failed. The experiment was one of the first conducted with 174 before the efficacy of amnesiacs had become apparent. So, before I continue, I just want to point out the fact that a company that seems to specialize in amnesia-ing people, when she's really, really upset, let's kill her! Instead of first thinking of the amnesia. You got at least 5 different levels of amnesia drugs, and the first thing you do is end her because she's upset. This is why I constantly make the termination jokes, because it's all the hell they do. Anyway, on blank 2000 something, Dr. A entered storage containment 7 to find 174 sitting on the floor next to his containment unit, looking directly at the main entrance door. The door to 174's unit had been sealed shut, with no access having been logged in the previous week. After being replaced in containment, video surveillance was installed in Unit 7 as a precaution against further translocations, and a GPS tracking unit was attached to 174. That's creepy. Now let's check out the treasure map. Not like that. Not like that. Get out of here. Krekuka. Okay, so that happened. I apologize. Now you see that I have that Enter the Gungeon update chillin'. There we go. Well, the treasure map is safe. 175 is to be kept in a metal safe when not undergoing testing. The safe is to be secured in a storage room in sight somewhere, with other low-maintenance SCPs. The room will be guarded by 2 security guards at all times in accordance with security protocol data expunged. Description: when not active, 175 resembles a yellow piece of parchment, slightly larger than a standard piece of paper. The edges are torn and it appears weathered and brittle. However, 175 is actually quite supple and is indestructible despite its worn appearance, having resisted all attempts to remove pieces for testing. The more interesting properties of 175 are revealed when moved in relative proximity to a buried object. The proximity range seems to vary under unknown parameters. 175 has become active in distances from as short as 30 meters to as far as several kilometers. However, on average, the distance ranges between 100 and 200 meters. When 175 becomes active, its appearance changes to become either a map, a set of directions to the buried object, or some hybrid thereof. Though the approximate size and shape of 175 remain constant, its appearance may change to resemble various other paper and parchment varieties. And the writing or drawing implement and style vary as well, seemingly based on the mindset of the individual or individuals who buried the object. For a partial list of buried objects and their buriers, see document 175-8. If the buried object is dug up, or the map is removed from the proximity of the object, it reverts back to its normal state. Partial list of buriers, buried objects, and appearances of 175. All experiments took place at data expunged unless otherwise stated. The doctor buried a wooden box, so 175 became a piece of graph paper with a pencil-drawn map of the surrounding area complete with a legend in the bottom left. The location of the treasure was clearly marked. The doctor remarked that the handwriting looked identical to his own. A 5-year-old female child of the doctor was instructed to bury a box with a couple of her toys. It became a crayon-drawn map of the surrounding area on a white piece of paper, clearly modeled on the style of a normal child of that age. A 10-year-old male child of this agent was instructed to bury a box containing his comic books. It became a list of instructions on yellow paper based on several landmarks in the area. The instructions included where to start and how many paces to take to the next landmark, the direction to turn, and eventually where to dig. The instructions were complete with misspellings appropriate for the knowledge of a child that age. A well-respected professional landscape artist was instructed to bury an empty wooden box. 175 became a canvas with accurately painted overhead view of the surrounding area, with a X to mark the spot where the box was buried. A professional puzzle maker and crossword puzzle maker was instructed to bury a wooden box. 175 became a piece of graph paper with several inked crossword and various other word puzzles, along with a meta puzzle. Solving the smaller puzzles was necessary to find the letters to solve the meta puzzle, which was a list of instructions for where to find the buried object. An agent, who remembered a box with various objects that he had buried in his backyard at the age of 8, traveled with a research team to Data Expunged. 175 became a pencil-drawn map of the surrounding area along with labels that did not match his current handwriting, but did match his handwriting from papers his parents had kept that he had done at that age. Most remarkably, the map included several trees that had been cut down in the years since the box was buried. A D-class personnel who had been a professional architect before his conviction as a serial killer was instructed to bury a wooden box. Data expunged. For full details, those with sufficient clearance should see Addendum 175-13. During a transport of 175, along with numerous other safe SCPs to Data Expunged, one of the guards in the truck reported a high-pitched whine coming from the tray containing 175. As per protocol, the truck was stopped and evacuated, and the nearest task force, Mobile Task Force Omega-7 Pandora's Box, was sent to investigate after being briefed on the contents of the crate. According to the debrief, they found a sheet of metal which was emitting the whine, and the sound increased in pitch and volume until they neared a specific location. Digging in the area uncovered SCP blank, at which point the metal sheet reverted to the inactive state of 175. Addendum 13. On blank, a D-class personnel who had been a professional architect prior to his conviction as a serial killer was instructed to bury a wooden box. The intended purpose of this experiment was to see what 175 would look like when buried by an architect. When Doctor looked at the 175 once the box was buried, he immediately screamed, dropped to his knees, clutching his head with both hands, dropping 175 to the ground, luckily face down. Agent Blank, who was standing by the side of the Doctor during this experiment, reported a flickering mass of color and a sense of extreme nausea at a glimpse of 175 before it drifted to the ground. He quickly dug up the box in order to reset 175. Doctor went into a coma after this incident, and intense psychological screening of the D-class subject revealed a well-hidden schizophrenia and sociopathy. Since this experiment, strict protocol has been put in place to protect the mental health of researchers. So, it sounds like something happened to the paper insofar as it was not able to find the box in the ground due to having been buried by a schizophrenic sociopath. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Now it's time for the observable time loop. Which is Euclid. That doesn't look like a time loop. But I am observing it, so I guess they're not wrong. 176 is contained on site under the cover of industrial chemical contamination. Any civilians attempting to enter must be detained, and probably terminated. Multiple high-speed cameras are set up within the observation room and linked to continuously running analysis computers. If any deviation is observed in the recorded sequence, all recorded data must be immediately backed up and senior staff notified. 176 is an abandoned chemical factory situated near Data Expunged. The building consists of a factory floor and an observation room on the second floor, separated from the main room by one-way mirrors. There are 3 entrances into the building: a 3-bay loading dock whose doors have been welded shut, a ground floor employee entrance, and a second floor observation room entrance accessible via a metal staircase on the north end of the building. When the main building is entered via the loading dock or employee entrance, no anomalies are observed, merely an empty room in severe disuse and disrepair, with a small amount of metallic debris consistent with a stripped-down abandoned factory. The inside staircase leading up to the observation room is missing and inaccessible, and so far every attempt to enter the observation room via the inside of the factory through the access door or windows has failed. When the observation room is entered via the second floor outside door, a factory observation room consistent in disuse and disrepair to the rest of the building is found. However, when the factory floor is viewed through the observation room windows, the anomalous property of 176 is visible. The view from the observation room window shows a static repeating scene that lasts approximately 11.3 seconds before repeating. Visible through the window is a room of the same dimensions and layout as the factory floor, but painted white and sterilized. Set up in the middle of the room is a huge electronic device of indeterminate function covering at least 50 square meters, and extending approximately 2 meters in height at its highest point. 5 individuals in white clean suits appear to be working on the device. Approximately 5.9 seconds into the scene, the employee entrance door bursts open and 4 individuals wearing black tactical armor with no identifying marks or emblems enter the room and open fire on the research personnel. At 11.3 seconds, the device in the center of the room emits an intense flash of light and radiation, and the scene resets. Analysis of thousands of instances of the scene has shown no variation in the sequence. So far, all attempts at interacting with the scene have failed. Any attempts to breach the window or door from within the observation room were met with resistance inconsistent with the suggested strength of the materials comprising their frames. To date, all attempts have resulted in successful penetration, or that have resulted in successful penetration of the door or window have resulted in the damage being instantly reverted along with the sequence during the burst of light. Any tools or limbs extended outside of the observation room are cleanly severed and have never been found. Research is ongoing into the nature of the device at the center of 176, as well as the identities of the researchers or the individuals involved. Here's some further analysis. The first unidentified researcher is a male Caucasian, 40 years old, brown hair, green eyes, stands in the southeast corner reading from a monitor. Hit 3 times in the chest by the gun, approximately 8.1 seconds, and died immediately. Second one, male Asian, approximately 35, black hair, brown eyes, hit in the shoulder, dropped to the floor out of the sight of the device. Female Caucasian, 40 years old, brown hair, amber eyes, sits at a desk, is out of line of sight when the gunfire begins and takes cover under the desk. Appears to be reaching for a weapon of some sort before the end of the sequence. Male Caucasian, 45, brown hair, indeterminate eyes, stands in front of the device to the northeast with his back to the observation room. Shot twice in the head at 7.2 seconds, killed instantly. 4 indeterminate males. The fifth researcher is also an indeterminate male. Shot at 7.8 seconds and drops down out of sight. M4A1, MP5N, MP5N, TMP. Enters first, shoots. Enters second, shoots. Enters third, moves under the observation room. Stays at the door. Okay, so that's interesting. I guess the machine just set them in a time loop forever when they all started dying. And now for checkmate. Which sounds like some sort of crazy haunted chessboard, but we'll find out. Well, it's safe. Due to the safe level of the object, here's what it used to say anyway, 177 is to be contained in Dr. Caleb's room, to be moved only at his discretion, or at that of a level 4 administrator. Now it says, 177 is to be kept in a level 4 storage locker. During the use of 177, standard rules of chess must be adhered to. Any test subject attempting to cheat or deviate from these rules is to be escorted from the room. Okay. 177 is an 8x8 square standard chessboard measuring 40 centimeters by 40 centimeters. On the board are 16 pawns, 2 kings, 2 queens, 4 bishops, 4 knights, 4 rooks, totaling 16 black and 16 white. All items are carved out of elephant ivory. Those poor elephants. Even the black ones? The white pieces are movable and can even be removed from the board with minimal force. The black pieces, however, cannot be removed from the board or moved by any outside force. Forces in excess of 3 kilonewtons have been applied to the black pieces, only resulting in damaged equipment. I wonder what a kilonewton is. I'm not going to Google it though. When a legal opening move is made by the white pieces, 177 enters an active state. When active, 177 can be used to play a game of chess using standard rules. White moves first, pawns can move 2 squares on first move, etc. The black pieces move autonomously, and after a move is made using the white pieces, that piece becomes immovable until black makes a move. When a piece is captured, it is moved off to the side of the board and removed from play automatically. In the case of the white side winning, black pieces all return to their original position and no further effects are noted until a new game starts. If black should win, the black pieces do a celebratory dance and the white pieces fall down, before righting themselves to their original position. Should a stalemate occur, all pieces fall down and return to original positions. Addendum. History of 177. It was brought into Foundation custody on March the something in 1990-something, following a routine sweep of antique stores in the area of London, England. The shop in question was found to be mundane with the exception of 177, which was acquired by Dr. Caleb. The shop has since been under surveillance for any further anomalous activity. And here's a test log. White player. Disposable lady, age 25. Chosen for her aptitude in chess. Result. Heavy casualties on black side, ending in checkmate for black after 60 moves. Test 14. Same as in the previous 13 games. Few casualties on the black side, ending in a resignation from the disposable lady at 50 turns. Almost all white pieces were captured. This is the first recorded instance of 177 actually winning. Test 25. White player, blank blank blank, male, Chinese, 34. Local chess champion in the town of somewhere, Jiangsu Province, PRC. Mr. Blank was informed that 177 was operated remotely by an advanced chess computer developed by Sherman Computer Products. Result. 177 successfully promoted one of its pawns to a queen and used this piece to place Mr. Blank into a check several times before an eventual checkmate at 75 turns. Mr. Blank administered amnesiacs and released. Test 51. Male, Japanese. Former Japanese national chess champion. 177 had considerably long pauses between turns, often in excess of 10 minutes, and moved pieces slowly. Eventually, Mr. Blank resigned, declaring that the board was broken and taking too damn long. In future tests, time control will be used to ensure there are no repeats of this test. Mr. Blank administered amnesiacs and released. Test 167. Dr. Caleb, chess expert and head researcher on 177, requested to play a game with 177. Checkmate for 177 at 154 terms. Dr. Caleb proclaimed that it was the best damn game of chess he had ever played and expressed interest in a rematch. Test 200. Deep Blue chess computer. 77 narrowly lost to Deep Blue in 50 moves. Since this time, 177's chess strategy has been noted to be greatly improving. Test 406. Dr. Caleb. Checkmate for Dr. Caleb in 11 turns, a new record for 177. Dr. Caleb stated that 177 must have cheated, citing the misuse of the en passant move, but it shows that 177 played legitimately. Test 529. Blank Blank 2000 Blank World Chess Champion Mr. Someone was informed that 177 was being controlled by a highly advanced chess computer, blah blah blah. Lost to 177 in 90 moves, stating that whoever programmed this computer was a genius. Mr. Blank was administered Class A amnesiacs following testing and released. Test 702. Redfire chess computer. Winner of 2007-2010 World Chess Computer Championships. 1 in 25 moves. Test 975. Anderson, a chess computer developed by Dr. Caleb with the express purpose of beating 177. The computer was built to be able to deviate from rules of chess and cheat if necessary. White pieces manipulated by a robotic arm. Results of game. Game progressed normally until turn 63 when Anderson attempted to move the white queen in an L shape similar to a knight in order to achieve check. Following this, 177 was thrown at Anderson by an unseen force over blank kilometers per hour, resulting in the destruction of several vital circuits in the computer. New protocol. No cheating. Do I even need to say what would happen to a human if they cheated against this thing? Okay, so, if you cheat, something throws the board at you, and you die. What was this? Euclid? Safe? Safe? Well, yeah, right. Safe for gathering, not safe for what it does. Okay. Now it's time for the 3D specs. Though those quotation marks suggest that the 3D doesn't mean what I think it means. Okay. 178 is to be stored in a Class 3 anomalous object container guarded by no fewer than 2 armed personnel with level 3 clearance when not undergoing testing. Item is to be removed from containment only with written permission of personnel with level 4 clearance or higher. Following Incident 178-14 Alpha, all tests are to be monitored remotely in the presence of personnel apart from test subjects in the testing area during experimentation is expressly prohibited. Let's find out why! 178 is a pair of white stereoscopic 3D glasses with a rectangular white cardboard frame and lenses of transparent blue and red, left and right lenses respectively, plastic. The item exhibits no unusual physical properties apart from a slight discoloration of the cardboard consistent with age. When worn, the wearer begins perceiving large bipedal entities in addition to its ordinary surroundings. Okay. Entities reportedly exhibit a docile and occasionally curious behavior. Reports include entities leaning over the shoulder of persons working and observing them with interest. With one exception. Any attempt by the wearer or any other personnel, see Incident Report 178-14 Alpha, to directly interact with the entities results in severe lacerations suddenly appearing on persons involved. What is this? Okay. The appearance of lacerations is rapid and continues until the moment the wearer expires. The pattern of lacerations is always consistent with being slashed with 3 parallel tapered sharp objects of lengths varying between 14.2 and 27.4 centimeters, and maximum thickness varying between 2.9 and 8.1 centimeters. Recording and measuring devices used during testing failed to detect any anomalies, including while lacerations were appearing on subjects. Subjects do not report hearing any sounds emanating from the entities. Long-term observation of subjects exposed to the item reveals no lasting effects. Stereoscopic images viewed through the item appear 3-dimensional. Addendum. Item was recovered on blank 19-something in somewhere in Tennessee by Agent Somebody, operating as deep cover agent in the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Why is that necessary? We'll find out someday, probably, maybe. Who arrived in the town following reports of a blank-year-old child being found dead in her second-floor bedroom, apparently as a result of an unusual mauling. Agent Redacted noticed a blood-stained stereoscopic image of a Ferris wheel adjacent to where the child was discovered, and after some searching found the item under the child's bed where it had apparently been thrown during the child's death throes. Agent Redacted then proceeded to call a recovery team to his location. Following the recovery team's arrival, Agent Redacted wore the item and looked at the image, reporting nothing unusual until he turned his head to the left, whereupon he noticed an entity approximately an inch from his face leaning over his shoulder and looking at the stereoscopic image. In the debriefing, Agent Redacted reported also noticing several other entities in the room observing him and the recovery team. Agent Redacted refrained from attempting to interact with the entities, and the item was recovered without incident. Addendum 2. All experiments are to be logged in File 178E. Addendum 3. Personnel with Level 4 clearance are urged to read Incident Report 17814 Alpha. Reading Incident Report 17814 Alpha is mandatory for all personnel with Level 4 clearance or higher. Overseeing or approving experiments with the item. Failure to comply with Addendum 3 is grounds for disciplinary measures. Termination. Let's see if it's in here. Alpha? Okay, it's not in here. Good thing we're not testing with it, because we'll never know. Salususur? Thamiel? What the hell is this? That it went from being safe to Thamiel? I don't think I've had anything that was Thamiel yet. The furthest I've gone is Keter. What is this? 179 remains beyond the reach of currently known groups of interest, including the Foundation. All containment efforts are to be focused towards a Grade 3 omission cover-up, coupled with the discouragement or sabotage of exploration and research missions that attempt to study System Mercury in space and orbits that go through it. 179 is a humanoid entity located at a constant distance of approximately 40,000 kilometers from the south polar region of the solar photosphere, locked to the rotation axis of Sol. However, it does not orbit it. The most recent recordings of 179 indicates that it seems to maintain a continuous orbit around the center of the galaxy. Through the combined effort of 43 years of continuous surveying, the external appearance of 179 has been defined as a human female of undetermined ethnic group between 20 and 40 years of age. Its entire bodily surface is covered in or composed of a matte black material. Its hair appears to be composed of this material, measures over 34 kilometers long, and is constantly pushed away by solar wind. However, this part of 179 seems to reflect variable amounts of sunlight, this reflection being the phenomenon that indicated its existence to the Foundation astrophysicists during 1940. Several markings or tattoos are placed throughout its bodily midline. Judging from their brightness, these markings might be of metallic composition and of a golden hue. These tattoos include several symbols that have been identified as those typically representing the Sun and the 6 innermost planets of the solar system, according to the medieval alchemy, including in this order: the symbol of gold on the subject's forehead, right underneath the hairline, the symbol of Mercury under the nose circling both lips, the symbol of copper between the medial ends of its clavicles. Data expunged, auto-sensor level SC4, non-trivial cognitohazard detected, with the anatomically correct shape of a human heart placed over the location where a heart would be in a human female of the same apparent age and bodily proportions. Okay, so I guess, whatever it is in the shape of a heart is something that can't be talked about or looked at. The symbol of iron in the upper abdominal region, the symbol of tin in the lower abdominal region, part of a final symbol in the pelvic region. While the anatomy of this region makes its clear observation difficult, it has been hypothesized that the symbol of lead is also present and complete in the perineum region. 179 keeps its ventral side oriented towards Earth most of the time, but it has been observed to look towards other areas on occasion. Redacted. All further data redacted as per administrative warning, ES 026. As of blank 179 has been reclassified Thamiel. All involved personnel with a clearance level below 4 179 will either be promoted or reassigned to fit this new classification, depending on their relevance for the continuous surveillance and cover-up operations as directed by the current head researcher for 179. All reassigned personnel will be subject to Polymath 8 memory redaction therapy or D-class amnestics in a higher dosage grade with a maximum retrograde effect of 10 years of experience. depending on the time spent working in 179 prior to its reclassification. 179's existence will be subject to an orbital misinformation standardized intelligence obstruction and neutralization campaign, or OMSIAN, as per omission protocol. Okay, it stands for omission. Alright. Protocol 4, items 4.5, 4.6, and 4.7. Most documentation related to 179 has been classified level 4 top secret. Any further data related to 179 has been classified level 5 and will be made available only to authorized 179 personnel. Be advised that unauthorized access to 179 research materials will be considered a Type 3B offense, unauthorized data management while lacking appropriate global clearance, punishable by compulsory memory redaction therapy with immediate reassignment and/or demotion. Boop! Did it say meme bot? That says meme bot. Looks interesting. Anyway, 179 is sensitive to all radiation in the electromagnetic spectrum, intelligent, and able to communicate through multiple anomalous means, including but not limited to radio and laser communications interference. Only one instance of 179 communication with Foundation personnel has occurred thus far, where 179 proved to be fluent in French. As this contact did not result in a clear statement of 179's intentions toward the Foundation and its mission, all efforts must be made to prevent contact by any known groups of interest with 179. Misinformation operations and other preemptive measures have been deployed. Most recorded movements performed by 179 have been related to the extraterrestrial threats, both anomalous and non-anomalous in nature, on a collision or orbital insertion course with Earth. These threatening items have been identified as capable of causing CK-class reconfiguration events of diverse impact on human societies and earthly life in general if allowed to reach Earth. If impact with Earth or orbital insertion occurs without proper response and containment by Foundation operatives, these items of interest may be capable of causing XK-class end-of-the-world scenarios. 179 will usually address an item or items of interest by pointing at them with an arm, and when more than one item of interest is present, will be able to generate additional limbs anatomically identical to its arms as needed. Survey data indicates that 179 performs other motions specific to each item of interest addressed, such as raising different fingers or moving its arms in an array of as yet undecipherable patterns at fixed intervals. But whether this motions contain any information or not has not yet been determined to date. The limits of 179's detection capacities have not been clearly ascertained. While 179 has been able to detect potentially harmful objects beyond the trans-Neptunian region, those threats had been detected by other surveillance and exploration systems, usually under Foundation control, or in at least 3 separate instances were visible to the naked eye from Earth. However, they had not been immediately recognized as threats. It has been hypothesized that 179 may only detect and react to active threats that remain detectable to others observing parties without the cis-Neptunian region, while being able to unerringly determine their harmful nature. All items of interest approaching Earth within cis-Neptunian space that had considerable destructive capacity have been detected by 179 without failure, often when no observers known to the Foundation were aware of them. As such, 179 and all personnel, orbital equipment, and facilities dedicated to its surveillance remain the most reliable early warning system the Foundation possesses to detect and, when possible, prevent potentially dangerous incursions within surveyed space. 179 is able to determine which interplanetary objects pose a threat to Earth, humankind, or the earthly biosphere, which makes it a critical asset for the Composite Orbital Early Warning System, COWS, project of the Foundation, which currently involves SCP blank 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 and blank, and also XCP-OA-3 and 42, Site 34, Site 103, Site 98, 08, blank, 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 and Command Site blank, as well as several personnel embedded within different space agencies and international consortia related to space exploration. All data of interest related to or obtained through 179 will be marked COWS 179, which will be considered high priority information to all Foundation departments. See now, if this is not supposed to be read and is protected by a brain virus, you would think they wouldn't have to redact this much shit, because it's protected by a brain virus. But, Addendum 179-1, Notable Movements. Okay, first recorded movement of 179, the entity that had remained with both arms crossed, raises an arm towards a previously undetected interplanetary object on a collision course with Earth. After its impact, in an event that damaged the city of Data, expunged extensively with large quantities of anomalous mucus secretion, and left more than 1,300 dead, which combined with the anomalous phenomena related to, redacted as per previous expungement. Remaining central item reclassified SCP blank. 129 returned to its original position. 6 recorded movement of 179. Entity raises an arm towards redacted on a collision course with Earth. Item of interest crashes nearby Auckland, New Zealand, and in the April 10th, 1942. Item separates upon impact into several devices of mechanical nature. Data expunge recently formed sub-entities with minimal civilian casualties. Once Foundation operatives contain the item proper, which is reclassified, redacted, and terminating most sub-entities, 179 returns to its original position. Mobile Task Force has redacted all data on involved assets expunged from records, proceeds to track and destroy all remaining sub-entities. Blank 19-something, 18th recorded movement of 179. Raises its right arm toward data expunged. Up to this date, Entity has kept one of its primary arms, shifting from one to the other as necessary, pointing in the same direction. 23rd recorded movement of 179, and that happened in 1949. The Entity raises an arm towards an Amor-class asteroid that has adopted a collision course with Earth. The Foundation uses a combination of several SCP objects to launch a remote-controlled interplanetary vehicle that acts as a gravitatory tow line. This mission is announced a success in 1951. At this time, 179 returns to its original position. Note: surveying elements observed that the Entity performed a motion that could have been a nod. Reclassification request to Euclid status filed and denied. 1998, 403rd recorded movement of 179. The Entity stops watching Earth for 2 days and 13 hours when it looks towards the Jovian system. Once this interval is over, 179 looks at Earth again. 487th recorded movement of 179. That happened in 2002. 179 points at an armed Type 11 dimensional weapon. Further data on SCP-11DW expunged as per 511 Executive Command. Launched from an Area 8 to test 179's detection capacities. Item remains in a primed configuration for blank minutes, ready to be launched at a test location on Earth. It is not identified by 179 until it is 3,670 kilometers above the Earth's surface, when 179 reacts to it as a threat and points at it. Device subsequently reconfigured to a standby configuration and redirected towards its primary target, data expunged, still in transit from the Kuiper belt. 179 returns to its previous position. 2003, contact with 179 is achieved via the Blank 2 probe. Subsequent movements registered in Addendum 179-2. 179 reclassified Thaumiel. See Addendum 179-2. Okay, so it looks like, there was something happening in 2002 that they launched a missile so powerful that this thing in space looked at the missile and was like, "Nyeh." So, that missile could have destroyed the world. 179 was first approached by the Blank 2 probe, a microsatellite equipped with multiple recording, analysis, and communications devices incorporated into the Blank probe in a clandestine operation. The Blank probe acted as a relay for the Blank 2 probe and Foundation mission control. Contact and communication with the Entity were not foreseen nor programmed. When visual contact with 179 was established, obtaining an unprecedentedly clear, very high-resolution image of its surface, the Entity begins to move its lips, forming the phonemes of a greeting in spoken French. What follows is a complete translation of the exchange. "Hello, I'm the Lookout. My name is Sausursor. Do you like my brother? I like him too. He's big, so big, and so very warm. If you want to talk to me, please use your satellite to weave talk to me. It'll be easier than coming here, probably." Entity remains immobile until 1753-55-53. Researchers assigned to 179 detect this movement. Level 3 researcher Thomas Graham, who's fluent in French, is selected by head researcher Redacted to conduct a possible exchange with 179. The Blank 2 probe is used as a radio relay from this point onward. 179 is able to receive, understand, and transmit radio communications. 179's transmissions read as a monotone, featureless human voice that speaks in French. The subsequent exchange occurs at with a 16 minutes and 39 comma, 6 seconds delay between each message, corresponding to the distance between 179 and Earth and return that will be omitted in the rest of this document. Who are you? My name is... that, and I am the lookout. I behold. I often see. I often warn. Almost always when I have to. That way there is further life. What do you mean, the lookout? It's me. We have noticed the significance of your movements. Who do you report to? Those who know where to look. To you, to those who want to look. Not just you, but you too. When you say brother, are you referring to the sun? He is my brother, Soul. Oh, okay, so it's Soul Suser or something. The Soul Suser. Yeah, let's go with that, Soul Suser. He warms me up. He is carrying fire and loving light. He caresses me with his arcs and his voice, and it renews me. He is the source of all true light. He is your source. Where do you come from? I was born a child, the entity nods towards Earth. For how long have you been in your current location? I do not want to tell you. Smiles. 179 adopts a fetal position and remains looking towards the Earth and pointing at redacted. Face of the entity remains visible from the blank tube probe. How did you reach your current position? How did you acquire the properties you currently possess? I was grown into a woman. This is how I live now. Could you give us further details, please? No. We would like to know more about you. Why not tell us? I'm sorry, I won't be yours. I can't belong to any one person. The Foundation's work protects all of humanity, all life on Earth. Don't you find this work of the greatest importance? Yes, I'm doing it. Look upon me and know. If we have understood your capacities correctly, we believe you could do far more than that. Sharing all the information you have, not just about the dangerous threats against humankind and Earth, could be of great benefit to all parts involved. I am too big and you're too small. There's a sea of nothing and islands of light. I am their shore. Ow. To you come the monsters, the pounding fists of void, the longing gods beyond our knowledge. I am the lookout. I see the ripples in their wake. You want me to pledge my sight no to you, so you, only you can be greater. Even if you find, restrain, defend. You want me to be yours. That is not why I am here. There are others I assist, others I warn, others beyond your thin walls of grey, dry paste rock. Others beyond the reach of your weary satellites, others beyond the home, our home, others I know, others I love, others you won't care for, others that came before, and overall, others beyond the little walls of rule and bone and laws and flesh, and memories and oaths you build around yourselves until you don't even remember them. Others I love, dearly, and yet only my brother is an equal to me. Excuse me, I don't understand what you mean by others. Could you please explain yourself with other words? But I have no words left. Closing. Despite several communication attempts, 179 did not perform any other movements nor transmit other messages. Up to this date, 179 has not responded to any message coming from Foundation Contact Team or any other efforts known from group of interest, or efforts from known groups of interest. Okay then. So, that's probably a good stopping point because, dang. So, alright, cool, we're at 180. So in the next episode, I'll start with the Identity Thieving Hat. Okay. So, this has been Anashi Sasuke. This is episode 44 of Let's Read the SCP Foundation Wiki. If you liked it, a like and a subscribe would be groovy. If you didn't, you don't need to do either one of those things. So, thanks for watching, and I will see y'all in the next one. Later!